Welcome to episode 268 of The Center Ring, presented by Alt. This is going to be the best episode ever. We have drama. Everyone cheats in CSGO nowadays. The COD offseason took all of 48 hours to start, and it's everywhere. We got COD news, CSGO news, and a lot of e-news to get to. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you about the show's sponsor. Alt is the number one apparel company in all of esports, in the world, in the universe, in the cosmos. We learned that like a couple episodes ago, if you were there with our space education. They are the best esports apparel in the cosmos. And I don't know if you follow Alt on Twitter, but they are about to drop on Friday what has to be one of their best drops for the Overwatch League to date. It is the 90s style apparel. And might I say, I'm going to pick me up some of those. The weather is getting cooler. It is perfect time for hoodies. You can pick up the 101 Burglars hoodie. More by TCR to come on that. So just keep an eye on the website, altesports.com. On Twitter is @ultimate. You can still go ahead and pick up, for all the Dallas fans out there, you can pick up the capsule. Comes with a t-shirt, a sweater, and I believe a hoodie. Yes, and a hoodie. I'm looking at it right now. 3 stars to mark their 3 champions throughout the season. So you can say you were not a bandwagoner because there's only 3. So you could say you were a fan before they won it all. So go ahead and pick that up. altesports.com.
Hey, this is James Clayster Eubanks, and you're listening to The Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast presented by Alt. This is episode 268, coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date is September 2nd, 2020. The time is 8:37 p.m. Only 7 minutes late, which is possibly the earliest we've ever started on time. So not bad. Not bad. We're getting better. Maybe by episode 300, we'll start exactly at 8:30. But for now, 8:37, not that bad. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter @TheCenterRing. Join our Discord. Be a part of the conversation. And if you're listening on iTunes or anything that allows you to leave a review, that's also much appreciated. We enjoy reading them. And all that fun stuff. My name is Tim. I'll be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
I noticed with the Clayster intro there, we didn't have his team name. I think that should be a new thing for us, Tim. We don't ask for team name anymore when we ask for liners.
Now, they've been around the block. They actually did not put the team name in there, though. That was not edited. That's just he didn't put in the team name. Maybe he knew something we knew. That's what I'm saying.
We should start getting like the players to like not put it in there at all.
Like, or we just get them to say all the names. Like, I think
we run this 12 times real quick?
Like with Guardian on CS side, I think we have I know we have 2 liners of them. We might have 3 liners of Guardian with all different teams. So maybe if we can just, it's like, hey, like if it's an NA player, could you just say every NA team for me? And then I'll chop it up.
Liquid, Cloud9, EG. At least give us those 3.
Yeah, give us the top ones just to cover your bases. You know, who knows where you'll be next week. And like if they're a CS player, maybe you can be like, hey, can you say like pro Valorant player? Just in case. Just, you know, just so we don't have to get this next time we see you. Can you just kind of cover all your grounds here? What did they call Brax pro FPS player for a little bit?
Yeah,
Like
that's what we have them say.
when they were still trying to hide him from being a Valorant player. Like, no, we're signing him on as a pro FPS player. Like, what does that mean? He's just
For Rogue Squad.
yeah, they play every FPS. You've never heard of that? No, yes. Our Clay liner is teamless, much like Clay. So it's a tough one, pal. That's a tough one. And we'll get to that in a moment because we have a ton. Like, before the confetti even hit the ground, COD was like, hey, Offseason, let's go. Like, hope you guys did your parade. Hope you popped that champagne because it's time to move on to the next season. So we'll talk about that, though. Before we get to anything, I do have some news, Anuj. Not necessarily show news, but some personal news in my life.
You don't want me to guess, so I'll let you take the floor.
I mean, you know it, so I don't even want to know what your pretend guesses are. But it is official. We found out today. The Mrs. Tim and I are expecting baby boy number 2.
There we go. Congrats,
So,
dude.
Thank you. For those who have been asking why we haven't done as many community nights lately, or why we're not on as late to play games anymore, that's part of the reason. Because do you know what takes up your time? Babies. Do you know what takes up more of your time? Pregnant wives. So
Yeah, pregnant wife and baby.
And baby, exactly. And I have both. So that is why. So baby number 2 is expected January of next year. So here in what, 6 months?
Skipping 2020 is a smart move. That's like a legit
4
pro
months.
move by you.
Don't know how to count. Yeah, we had our own quarantine baby. I mean, look, Anuj, you're locked in a house with this for 3 months. You're coming out with a baby. Sounds a little rapey. Was not. It's more so it was like
if you're married to you.
Married to me.
Yeah.
You are going to come out with a consensual baby.
Love it. That's awesome, dude. That is super exciting.
Yes, we are.
Can't wait to never see you again.
Very excited. Ahead of schedule, but you know what? Let that be a lesson, boys and girls. Let that be a lesson. Sometimes you don't plan for it, and it just happens. So there you go. When your wife tells you, oh, don't worry, you can't have a baby this soon after getting pregnant and having birth, know that she's lying and she doesn't know what she's talking about. So that's where we're at. So no, yes, we're very excited. Baby number 2, our second boy, found out today it is a boy, so that'll be excited. So there you go. I'm 2 kids away from having my own team. If I include myself.
Get him close enough, man. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, I would also be on that team.
We only need one more. We'll throw Hudson in the mix. Yeah. Right?
Okay, well, so it's you, me. Oh, we're good.
Oh, we're set, actually.
We're set, because obviously you and I are making the team.
Yeah. Captains, right?
Yeah. Like, they will carry us, but that's fine. We'll use their youth reaction times.
It'll be like Envy.
Just like them. So there you go. Good times. Good times will be had by all. So there's enough baby news for one episode. Let's get into some of the juicy drama, though, going on, Anuj, because we have a ton of it. I really don't even know where you want to start. You want to start with CS? You want to start with COD?
Well, let's go with COD.
All right. Because
CS, I'm still trying to wrap my brain around everything.
We got it. Well, let's do CS last, because between now and then, who knows? Maybe the whole thing is just shut down. maybe they just decide to call it quits and everyone just
cancel 2020.
All of CS moves over to Valorant. By the end of the show, every pro might just decide to move over to Valorant before we know it. So we'll do CS last. But yeah, so COD. I can't believe it was just last episode we did our championship recap episode. Not even season recap. The championship recap episode was only, 3 days ago?
I really thought we wouldn't be talking about COD for a while. Like, I was, in my mind, right? I had kind of like put it to the side. I was like,
Yep.
okay, we got Overwatch playoffs coming up. Counter-Strike's kind of headed into its season. Valorant's becoming more active. And Call of Duty, okay, you did your job. We're going to put you to the side for like a month or two and we'll come back. We didn't even get an episode break.
None. No, it is always funny. We always joke about how sometimes when we do our Sunday episodes, which are normally like pretty set, right? We're talking about the weekend's tournaments and we'll move on. Wednesday, we're always like, okay, let's think of something, right? And it's just like sometimes esports gods deliver. And it's just they give you the juiciest stuff. So for those who don't know, the COD off season has begun. Like, seriously, the champagne hasn't even been able to dry from the carpet of the Envy offices before they had to drop a player, which in Clayster, and it seems like every team is going that route. So, some big news that dropped, all right, is the fact that the league is going back, and I say the league, professional COD is going back to 4-on-4, and the free agency period starts on the 14th with the extension deadline on the 6th. So we're 4 days away from the extension deadline. Free agency, we're about 2 weeks away. So that's all very important, knowing the fact that the roster has moved back to 4v4, which I think they did, 2 seasons of 5v5?
Yeah, this was their second season of 5v5.
Second season of 5v5.
Oh, wait.
Crims,
Yeah,
I heard
the
Crim
second.
say second season.
Yeah, I believe it was their
interview.
second season.
So,
of 5v5.
all right. And they are not expanding on the league. So we'll still keep with the 12 teams. We're not going to expand until 2022, mainly because they want one full season off of COVID. Like, they want to have a normal season before they start expanding teams. Now, they'll tell you it's because of COVID. Let me tell you exactly why they're not expanding the year. They're moving rosters back to 4v4, meaning it's going to be less cost for rosters and orgs to have a team, right? So they're going to bump up their numbers that way and justify you buying into the league. And they don't want this season, albeit a success in my opinion, being their sales pitch to spend $20 million to get into the league.
Yeah, you might be getting it at a discount this year, right?
Exactly.
Like nobody's wanting to, regardless of what the league is doing, people are a little bit more hesitant to spend right now. You're also seeing what's happening, right in front of you with Overwatch League. So they need this to be the selling tool, right? Like, you're not taking Overwatch League into a pitch to start a franchise. You're probably going to use Call of Duty right now. And so it makes sense to what makes sense is not expanding until 2022. What doesn't make sense to me is going to 4v4 this year then, because now 12 people are losing their jobs essentially, right? There's only going to be so many starting roster slots. Yes, you could be a backup, but we've seen that a lot of backups that are big names haven't really handled it well, right? Like they don't want to be in that position. It's not an enjoyable position to be in. Enable, censor, like these guys, they want to play. So it's a little odd timing, because why did you start off? I hate the fact that they started off this year with 5v5. They should have just made this 4v4 if that's what they were planning on doing all along. That part kind of bothers me, because we're just going to see 12 people essentially are going to become non-existent in the league next year.
Yeah, and the minimum roster size is also changing, right? So this year the minimum size was 7. Obviously, with smaller starting rosters, you don't need as big of a pool. So now I think the minimum is only 5, I think. I just saw that. Let me look. Yes, the minimum now is only 5 players. So, I mean, that's even huge too. Like,
really 24 people.
You're
are
looking
losing
at bench
their job.
players even being out.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's a financially, I'm sure it makes sense behind the scenes, but from the outside looking in,
Yeah,
it just feels weird to go from 5v5 to 4v4 after 1 year. It's a better viewing experience. It really is as 4v4. Okay,
Yeah,
so
well,
I
'cause
get
COD
that, and it's traditional.
Yeah, COD has always been 4-on-4. They've only played
Yeah.
2 seasons 5v5. I get from a appeal, from a financial business point, I get it. What I don't get is you're doing it 1 year after the league started, where these guys have made pushes and roster moves to support a 5-man roster. And I know people are going to say, well, Tim, it was owner voted and it was, players' opinions and everything was taken in on this. Well, who do you think voted for 4v4? The bottom third of the league probably voted for 4v4. Like, do you think either LA was like, oh, we should really stick with 5v5, guys. We were doing really good with it. No. And do you think those owners want to pay an extra player? No, they're like, guys, we suck. We're the only two teams, or, LA and Seattle are the only two teams that didn't get any money in the finals. We made $10,000 all year. Like, no, I'm sorry. We're going to vote 4v4. And I can tell you from the little media press conference we had with Dallas on Monday after they won, they definitely were not one of the teams that voted. Like, you could tell, even this was before the Clayster news dropped, like, they were upset over it. They were like, this isn't really fair, and it's also not fair. And this is where I will be political, in the sense of there's no right way to do this. Because realistically, the Cold War beta drops October 8th with the game being released November. That's 2 months away, give or take? Yeah. You don't have the luxury of time to figure out your roster. The league can't have the luxury to be like, well, hey, you know what? We were going to announce 4-on-4, but we really wanted Dallas to celebrate for like 2 or 3 weeks, so we just figured we'd sit on it for a month. I mean, realistically, they don't have time. They needed to turn the page and move on and say, hey, we are doing 4-on-4. From what I understood, all the owners knew, but not all the players did. So for some of the players, they knew ahead of time before the news was announced. And for some of them, they found out when we found out. So, or at least like right before it was dropped, right? So these owners have known for a little bit now that it was going to 4-on-4. I don't know what, I know some fans and everyone were pissed off at it, like with the timing. But I just don't know what you wanted them to do. You have
the problem is there's just not time.
Yeah, you have a 2-month off season, and it's not like a normal game where you're like football, right? Oh, well, it's football. We just played an entire season of it. No, this is an entirely new COD, which is apparently being built completely from the ground up as far as the system that it's using. So no, there's a potential this is playing completely different. You need your squad ready for that first week of beta. There is no figuring it out when the game's released.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's again, it's just a time. The timing, there was not enough time for them to make another decision or wait or sit on it any longer. And it sucks because like now we see a team like Empire, like you said, they just won, and a couple days later, Clayster's gone off of the team. Like that hits a lot of fans in the face, right? Like that's like oh shit. Like first of all, we're trying to speculate who they would cut off of any roster, right? You're seeing all of that going on right now. Everyone's speculating who should play with who. And I don't think a lot of people saw Clayster really being the one gone. Not to say that somebody else was more deserving. But he's like such a big name icon. Like you see him as the leader of the team.
And I do kind of like, this is one thing that I feel the worst about Clay is, first off, like I said, we did that presser. So 2 things. I wish I pulled the audio, but I just didn't have time. Maybe I'll just pull it and tweet it out later on. But Clay mentioned, because someone asked about, building the like your bench and things like that, and picking up fourth and people getting cut. And Clay said, it's a stigma that COD players and the COD scene have to get around. Because there's a stigma right now going that to where if you're cut from a team or if you're placed on the bench, you're washed up. Like you are branded kind of with that scarlet letter of you are now a bench player or you were cut. If you weren't good for this team, why do you think you're good enough for that team? And it's just kind of sad knowing that was, he was saying they got to get past it. They got to get past it. And now he's the one that cut. Now, I don't think Clay's in that pool. I think when you just won a championship, you've probably earned the right back-to-back
champ.
champions, I think you've earned the right to not be in that pool of washed up, quote unquote, players for being cut or benched. But it sucks. The irony is that he was cut no less than 24 hours later.
Yeah, but like I think this will be a little bit different kind of across the board because teams are also going to have to cut players based on not just like maybe who's the lowest ranking player. It's just you can only have like 2 ARs or 2 subs. Like the
Yeah.
meta will determine a lot of how many you're going to have, right? 1 AR flex and then a flex and 2 SMGs. Like you might not have room for the squad that most people would think. You're going to see big changes coming across the board, though. Like I think Huntsman may only have 2 or 3, possibly of the players they have on the active roster. You would expect kind of Scump and Envoy to 100% be there along with Formal.
You think Scump?
But
Do you think they'll keep Scump?
I could see the brothers both leaving because
I
they wanted to play with each other so bad that I
Yeah.
don't see them like splitting up again at this point.
No, I
They'll
agree. I
probably
think
be a
the
package deal.
twins would stay together, right? I think at this point they're pretty much a package deal. Like they did the whole separation thing. That didn't really work out, so they got back together in Chicago, so I think that's the way it's sticking. You wonder too, like going into the offseason before 4v4 was announced, you were thinking of like, okay, there are some bench players that are probably getting a chance for starting roster spots, like Sensor in New York. Well, now, I mean, he was a bench player last year competing against other bench players for starting roles. Now he's competing against 12 other starting players to get into a spot. Like, that's
Yeah,
going to
I
be
mean,
tough.
Again, 24 people are losing their jobs. It's probably going to be pretty much every bench player you see right now is losing their job, right? Like, because all the remaining one bench players you have is most likely going to be from the starting pool of players that's about to get cut, right? You're going to have 12
Yeah.
starters being cut, and that's all you're going to be able to have for a backup. So, yeah, like a lot of those guys are probably stressing out that they're going to
I
have to go
think
to the amateur scene in hope that they get picked up by a franchise team the
when they
following
expand.
year.
Now, I
Yeah.
think one thing that could spice this up a little bit, though, is that bottom part of the teams. I think Optic at this point, especially with JCap retiring, your LA Gladiators, Seattle, maybe even Minnesota, the way they kind of fell apart, but I don't know if they just chalk it up to online play. They're going to drop more than one guy. Like your Dallas, your FaZe, your Florida, they're only dropping one guy. They're going to keep their starting and then they're going to move on. Like New York, probably only dropping one guy and moving on with the 4. But those bottom half teams, you're looking at possibly 2 or 3 guys dropping off that roster to then pick up some of these starters that get cut later on. So I think that's where it could get a little exciting.
I think it's going to be like a lot of roster changes, really across the board. And the roster mania that we thought we would potentially be losing going from CWL to CDL, that's not happening. Like we're getting full on roster mania. I think there'll be some really big time players that are moving teams that like people don't expect to move, right? Like a guy from FaZe, like a BZ moving to join with another squad. Like these guys have played with a lot of players, right? And then they look at the game that's coming up and determine, hey, the players that I played with, like who are the best ones that are best suited for this game with this meta and how it's going to be. And I think a lot of them, I mean, they're little chatterboxes, like there's going to be a lot of talking going on before it's supposed to be quote unquote, right? Like it probably shouldn't be happening until the free agency period. But trust me, these guys have like,
look, we've been around esports long enough to know it's not the GMs and coaches pulling the strings, especially in the COD world. Like, It's very cute if you're an owner and you think you can decide your roster, but that's not how it works. The players decide the roster. I mean, it's like the NBA in that sense, right? The players are really going up to the owners and the GM saying, we want to play with this guy. And then their job is to then go and get that guy.
Yeah, because it doesn't benefit anybody if the roster that they're playing together, if they don't like each other, then they start performing poorly. It's a loss for the owner at that point too, right? Like to have a team underperforming. So yeah, you're right. The players have a lot of control in COD, and look, I think we're going to see like really some crazy switches going on here. I don't think it'll just be really one from any team. I think there'll be multiple, especially like you said, from the bottom half of the group. Those will be completely revamped.
Yep. So very sad to see Clayster leave Dallas. Kind of a shame we really didn't get to interact with him as much as we typically would, just because we couldn't go anywhere with COVID, right? So there was that. But you know, I from everything on Twitter, like it kind of got dicey yesterday. You know, Mike Raffel got involved, and people were getting mad at the team, saying why. Again, this goes back to there's no good time to do it. I think you have to do it early so other teams know that he's available. The last thing, like it wouldn't have been cool for Mike to sit on it to be like, oh, let them enjoy their celebration. And then a month later, after the trade or free agency started, you know, then you say, okay, we're cutting him now. Like that's not cool.
Go find your roster now.
Go find your roster now. Good luck.
He is a restricted free agent, you know, so he's not going anywhere for free. Like they are going to, somebody's going to have to buy his rights, whatever that number ends up being. You know, I don't know. I think he had this. I think I read somewhere that it was like a $500K buyout, but they're not going to be. And that might even be wrong. Don't even quote me on that. But whatever the buyout is, they'll probably sell him for cheaper than that to let him go to a destination that he desires, right? Like we kind of saw some of that on Twitter. That you know, Mike's going to put him
anywhere
in a spot
but Chicago.
Be.
Just don't, Clay. I know you're listening because we're best friends. From one best friend to another, please don't go to Chicago. I couldn't take it.
I couldn't see Mike selling him to Chicago, honestly. Because if he went there and won, that would be even. I mean, that would be a worst case scenario.
You think Mike is like, hey man, I'm gonna send you to whatever team you want, except that one. Like, not that one.
I can see it being like a team like New York or something would make sense.
I think New York would make sense. I think he would fit in with Florida. I think that would make sense. But yeah, I mean, New York. I could actually see a New York mixing in well. Plus, you know, New York is a younger squad, which Clay from the last 2 years have learned. Like, that's kind of part of his characteristic at this point.
Really. Mac is like the young one. The rest he's like at least played with, I feel like, you know, played with them in phase and all that. So like Mac is the young gun on that team. And I think Clay knows what one really good like young player can do, right? And we saw that out of Mac this year. So that seems like it'd be an appealing lineup. There were talks out there that Wuskin and Scraps were having a conversation on stream, and they were saying that they're all going to be free agents on the 13th, like that whole lineup, you know, and London plays fourth in the whole champ situation, and they could resign. Like there's a potential for them to resign.
I've heard mixed results. Like I've heard that they're all being told they're free agents, but also getting offered extensions. So I don't know what to feel about that.
Now they could still get a better offer ultimately, right?
So I guess
if you're a free agent, you have the opportunity to go wherever you want. You may stay.
I guess London is just keeping it chill, kind of like all right, you could just do your thing, guys. Like I don't really understand their logic behind that. Rolling the dice
seems risky because like I feel like Wuskin would get good money wherever he went. Now I think it comes into play of, is it always a package deal, right? Like, do the brothers have to play together? Now, not to say Scraps is not good, but not every team may be looking for two players, right?
From an ownership, do you not look at that, though, just as a major marketing tool being London? And the fact that they're, like, from there?
Yeah, I mean, but they're living in the States anyway, so...
I know, but just from a marketing standpoint, I think for when they start doing the home, like for that one London homestand, I think I would want that selling point. And it would be a difference if they sucked, right? They're not. Wuskin has been one of your better players all year long. So it's like, okay, so not only do you have two solid players, they're also your best marketing tool.
Yeah, definitely a good chance that they re-sign him, but there's always that chance that they don't, right?
Yeah.
Like now when you become a free agent, again, you might get a crazy offer, and who cares where you live when you're laying on a pool of money, you know, but...
J Cap did announce his retirement, as I said earlier. So he this year played with Optic, but he has announced his retirement after a 10-year career. So hats off.
You think they told him he was the fifth?
What's that?
You think they told him like, hey,
you know what? Either that or he saw that it was 4-on-4 again and thought, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. I'm gonna go cast. Half the casters are gone because of sexual assault. I'm just gonna go cast. Seems like an easy gig. I'm done.
He's put in his time. 10 years, 4 championship appearances, 2 titles. He's done the scene well. He's put in his time, right? Like you can't ask for anyone to do any more than he did. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's surprising. Like he's been around for a while, so he said he
Yep.
wants to stay in the scene, so that's good. And like you said, casting is probably a realistic option,
They're
or
a
a
little
CS:GO
shorthanded.
coach, one of the two.
Yep. Yeah, so I could see that happening. So, but either way, that's pretty much it right now. I mean, with these dates, we know the extension deadline September 6th. So within a week, we'll know who's signing the extensions. And then free agency starts September 14th. And then that's when the fireworks will really get kicked off. And like I said, this isn't like an NFL offseason where you can go months and months waiting for that big signing. You might go 2-3 weeks at this point because you got to start getting in there because you got to understand these guys are already grinding Black Ops 4. Like you see them streaming Black Ops 4. So the sooner you can get in and just run scrims of any Call of Duty to work on that chemistry, to work on that teamwork, the sooner the better because you don't have the luxury to wait.
Tim and I will be scoping out all the streams to see who's playing with who.
We're masters at it. So,
yeah.
I mean, don't let anyone look. You don't have to. It's getting to the point, Anuj, where I see on Twitter per sources, and I think, hold up, are we the source? Like, are you using us as a source? Because we literally talked about this a week ago. So it's getting to that point where your boys here at TCR are hitting them on the head, knocking them out of the park.
JCap moving to CS:GO coach, calling it now.
So there you go. I think that's really it. That's all I have. I will say this because we didn't really talk about it too much on Twitter and in Discord. I was very vocal anti moving to 4v4. Let me explain myself. I'm not anti 4v4. I'm actually pro 4v4. I'm anti mixing it up again. Like this is it. Once you go to 4v4, I hope this was Activision going to the developer saying, guys, we're doing 4v4. The 5v5 is not working out for the league. It's more beneficial for owners. We're doing 4v4 forever. Like, I better not see this go back to 5v5.
Yeah, then you can also start to see, like, the maps kind of hopefully go back to a little bit more the way they were. It allows for more traditional way that it's been played, right? So, I mean, I'm looking forward to 4v4 also. I mean, I really am. Like, I think it'll be great for the esports side. And I think it'll be even more fun for us if ranked play is available, like sometime soon.
And as boomers, okay, boomers out there, we all know this. Friends have come and gone. They're pretty thin when it comes to gaming time. A lot easier to find 2 other people, Anuj.
That is 100% true.
It's always hard finding that
true.
5th. I can get 4 on. It's that 5th that just sneaks away. So I am definitely happy having only have to worry about 2 other teammates when you're on. So there you go. There's the CS roster mania as of now. Like I said, within a week or 2, though, we're going to see a lot more happen. I'm sure even before that, because if anything with the Call of Duty guys, they can't keep their mouths shut for shit. So we'll know.
We'll know it all.
We'll know every leaked roster out there. So there's that. I'll point this out because you put it in the show notes and I saw Twitter talking about it with Parasite's tweet. I feel like this was just to get attention, but Parasite tweeted out saying that teams have already been formed, but it just depends if management can make it happen. But he doesn't officially know.
Yeah, he said it on stream too. I don't know if he tweeted it out also.
Yeah, he
said it on
tweeting
stream.
it out. But I'm like, what a way to say absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Like, we do that on...
I think it's true, though.
Well,
like,
like you said, I'm sure players know who they want to play with, but that's not always how it can work out. Like,
yeah, a lot has to go right for everyone to get the roster that they want, right?
Yeah. All right, so let's get over here to the CS scandal and drama going on here because it is not your typical CS topic, Anuj. I feel like normally when we talk about CS, it's happy thoughts, it's our feel-good plays, we're talking tournaments, we're talking big roster moves. I thought this was behind us in the Tier 1 scene, and it has been broken out like wildfire, and it has been and it's definitely not the last of it, where we are seeing coaches being banned left and right now with the CS scene. So to fill everyone in that might not know, there's a bug, or there was a bug in the game that would allow a coach, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Nuge, essentially the coach would sometimes like spawn in certain parts of the map and then could look around, like 360, see everything that's going on. So obviously the disadvantage or the advantage of this is you could see where the other team might be going and things like that. Correct?
Yeah, basically a cipher cam,
Yeah,
right?
you're a
From
cipher
Valorant.
cam.
It's exactly like a cipher cam from Valorant. And yeah, it would spawn you in a random spot. Sometimes we saw it happen in spawn, so you could see what the opposing team was buying and know which way they were splitting and how that would work. And sometimes it was literally in the middle of a bomb site, right? And it just froze you overhead and gave you kind of a full 360 view if you moved your mouse around. You could see everything.
Yeah. And so it's been recently busted that a number of coaches have been taking advantage of this bug, and now it's a hot topic. So let's just kind of go through this. So I guess the whole reason this started is Zeus and Peacemaker were the first to report the bug, which has since been patched, right? But then ESL kind of started going back and like reviewing the tapes and films and things like that to see if anyone has taken advantage of this. And now I will say this, and I will give you credit specifically, Anuj, because you've said it multiple times on the show. If you don't think people have been and are still going to cheat in the online era of esports, you are ridiculously naive. And I know, Anuj, you have said that in different words on the show before, but now I'm a believer. I'm buying into your belief that, of course, in one way or another, all these guys are going to find an edge, whether that be cheating or not.
Cheating is not only like aim hacking or wall hacking, right? Like speed hacking, whatever, all the hacks that you see. It's not just that, right? They could easily pop open a Twitch stream and have that on the monitor where they could be relayed information of economy, right? You would know the economy, you would get a general idea of, you get a little bit more information than you obviously normally could. And I'm not saying it's everybody tries to find an edge. That's just the world of competitive sports, whether it's traditional sport or an esport. People try to find an edge. And this seemed like one of the obvious ways it could be done. Now, it didn't help that Counter-Strike had a bug in the game that also allowed this to happen, right? But at the end of the day, people knew it was there, coaches knew it was there, players knew it was there, and they allowed it to happen. And they took advantage of it. And man, did we get a ton of evidence like on people, Tim. Like it really I think we're just getting to the tip of the iceberg here. I think there is so much more floating down beneath that we will get, not even talking about tier 2 or tier 3 CS, where this was probably an occurrence in most matches would be my guess. But I think from even tier 1, like we're really just starting to scope it out and find out what's happening. I mean, stuff's even coming out today.
Yeah, so some of the big ones here, I think from just a more recent standpoint, Heroic. The coach for Heroic, Hunden, ended up getting busted for using it during the DreamHack Masters Spring in 10 rounds on one map. And that's just what they've reported so far. I can only imagine he's done it more.
There's been more reports on him now that have also come out. Like
Okay.
it's happened more than once.
As they're
with
watching
him.
more film. And,
Yeah.
and again, these were just for ESL sanctioned, right? So now you're having other organizations or other tourney organizers going back and watching and reviewing their tapes, right? So this is all just, I mean, it's just a giant web that's getting casted out there now of people watching the film.
So I just want to throw out this gentleman's name because he's really the one that kind of helped break everything by doing the legwork, and that's Michu from ESL, Michael Slawinski. Might be I think I'm pronouncing that right. Him and Steve Dundon went through 1,500 demos. It took them 3 weeks of basically each of them doing it 12 hours a day to go through all these demos to find stuff. And I mean, look, they not only are catching the ones that have just gotten banned, but they're pushing more information out now for other demos that they're finding, letting other event organizers know that, hey, this was the bug, this is the time frame it's been going on. And now we're seeing it from like what Beyond the Summit just came out and released their sanctions today. This is affecting Road to Rio now because point situations have been messed up and teams have been eliminated that we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, for Heroic, it's a really big stain because they just came off of the win of Cologne. People were looking at them in really a positive light, right? Like that feel good team.
Do you want to
know this?
You want to know how fast life can come at you, Anuj? If you go to Hunden's Twitter account, he has his 2 recent tweets. Heroic, second best in the world, to Hunden has been suspended. Like, he retweeted
TLDR.
It's just like instantly he goes, yay, we're second best in the world, to I am now suspended. Like, that's how fast life can hit you in this world.
And look, he got a 1-year suspension, right, for what he's done. And again, there could be more coming down, right? Like, we haven't heard official rulings from Valve yet on if they're going to take action on this or if they're just going to let the TOs handle it. But yeah, there could definitely be more. I mean, he's getting a 12-month ban. For me, Tim, the biggest one and the most shocking one. Sarcasm with the shocking.
I was about to say, are you for real?
Not actually shocked. MIBR. MIBR has been caught. Now for ESL, it was just 1 round, 1 map where it was in spawn and he was able to see stuff. But there have been now multiple clips for MIBR that have come out that have showed that they took advantage of this for periods of games, self-reported themselves one time and restarted the game. Maybe that was just a ploy to make it seem like, hey, we're not doing anything wrong. Look, we're self-reporting.
Yeah, look,
too.
we're telling you about it. Surely we haven't been doing it the whole time.
But their coach Dead is receiving a 6-month ban. I really think his will end up like potentially being more. I feel like he got off. I know it's just 1 round in that particular instance, but I wouldn't be surprised if his suspension goes beyond that also.
Well, and also keep in mind, Dead was the same guy to where when MIBR first reported Leaf on Chaos for hacking with absolutely 0 proof, remember when that whole shitstorm started? Dead was the one who was in the background of the stream that you could clearly see him have the stream of the match on his computer. So it's like, so even then people were trying to call him out for their hypocrisy of MIVR, saying, you're going to call someone out for cheating, yet your coach is sitting here watching the game as it's going on. Like, give me a break. And then this happens. MIVR, and I say them as an org, it's really not fair. It's the roster, right? That roster with Fallen in them, they have been, to me, hypocrites since day one in CS. They will call people out for hacking. They will call people out for unsportsmanship, everything in the book. When they can turn around and do it right themselves, right? Even here, how is the Brazilian fan base treating Chaos and everyone for, with the cheating accusations? They were ready to rip off their heads for how dare you cheat against MIBR. And now their boy, Dead, actually gets busted for cheating. And they're like, well, I mean, it's a bug in the game. It wasn't him. Like, blame Valve, right? Give me a break.
The players here, to me, are just as liable. Right?
Yeah.
Like, Dead is taking the suspension. But honestly, like, Valve should come out and players should be suspended too. Now, maybe you determine the length to be different because the coach is the one that should have reported it at the time. He was the one that was actively doing it. Like, the other ones weren't holding his hand, moving the mouse around. But the players knew. And knowing is just as bad. Like, they're getting the information. Hey, double made top mid. Well, okay.
This is where I love the fact.
I didn't know. You just thought he happened to have a good read on that.
I forgot who tweeted this, but someone tweeted out saying, like, oh, don't blame the players. They might not have known. What? You think Heroic players just got to number 2 ranked in the world because their coach just figured it out? Like, you really think the players were like, God, guys, Hunden is just calling these shots like left and right. Have you noticed how he's just been on point lately? Man, I don't know. I guess he's just been watching his tape, watching the film.
He's picked the right site 15 out of 15 times.
Like, give me a break. The players 100% knew. In fact, all these coaches, although terrible people and deserve every ban that they're getting for cheating, also like deserve a gold star for falling on the grenade to cover up for their teammates on this one.
Yeah, they're getting a Purple Heart right now.
The team
like so bad.
100% knew that their coaches were cheating. 100.
Yeah, I mean,
that's like if all of a sudden I started hacking in Counter-Strike and you're like, man, Tim's really good here. It's like you would know pretty quick if I just started walling.
Tim just carried me to global. That's never happened before.
Yeah, well, I've just been watching tape, figuring out those smokes, figuring out the nades.
As I see you spin botting, but yet I don't know. It's maybe like it might be happening. I don't know for
Could
sure.
Be a bug. I don't know.
I mean, even the biggest ban that we have so far is from Hard Legion. The coach got a 24-month ban. They found him in 6 maps, total of evidence on him. And this is a stain for Counter-Strike. Like, this is really shitty because it's already been a roller coaster of a year for Counter-Strike. We've already seen the tier 2 scene basically in NA vanish overnight, right? Like, they're all playing Valorant. We have a slow development team who refuses to make basic changes to the game that will really help the overall player base. Even if you're not talking about screw 128 tick. I'm just talking about a good matchmaking system. Like, there's been a lot this year that has taken away from Counter-Strike along with COVID. COVID's like really sucked for everybody.
The crazy thing with this is that you're seeing on Twitter now, even players are getting upset about this, but in a way they're almost like, yeah, the coaches shouldn't have cheated, but we also need to look at Valve. Like, even players are turning this around on Valve, saying like, you guys aren't doing anything to keep this game updated and fixed.
Yeah, I mean, look, Valve's just as big of a culprit here in the sense that they just don't. I know they care about the game, but they don't treat it the way it deserves to be treated. There's a difference, right? Like, liking your kid and loving your kid are two different things, right? You treat them differently, and you see that in the way that they do Dota versus CS:GO, and it's just sad to me that it took a long time to get over the stain of what iBuyPower did. Okay, that was like a big flag that was just everyone talked about it. It was so visible. That was with the one team for like $1,000 worth of skins at a time when Counter-Strike was in a growing stage of the esports scene to what it is today. And that lasted so long. This is gonna, like I said, I think we're just finding out the extent of this. And now it's not just a stain on players or coaches, it's going to be a stain on players. And who knows what the hell Valve's going to do with the coaching rule. Like, could coaches potentially just be kicked out altogether? Like, Valve is going to come back with an I told you so? Like, we told you this whole coaching thing was stupid. We didn't want you to do it. This is why we don't allow it.
Yeah.
And now you can see people lose jobs for that reason.
Well, and the other thing is how we see this affect what we've already seen was the migration over to Valorant, right? I mean, I'm not saying Riot, I think, is a company that would honor other bans, right? So, like, if you were banned for cheating or whatever in Counter-Strike, I could see Riot saying, hey, we're going to honor their banned here. But who's to say that some of these guys, if they're completely punished, this just turns them off of Counter-Strike and then moves over? And I'm not saying, like, hey, don't punish them because of that. But I'm just saying it's one of those effects that could be from this. So,
like
I do
be
think
competing in Valorant tomorrow.
And I do think, though, where you're saying, I guess, how this is going to be a stain. I mean, ESL Pro League started today, Anuj, and you can't help but to think as you're watching these matches, who's cheating? Who is using some glitch? Who's watching a stream? Who's doing what? Right? There is no more underdog victory that isn't being watched and reviewed. Like, Heroic will never be able to win. I want everyone to go back and watch every single map of Big now. Like, go back and watch Big because they're doing something.
They
Like,
got the number
Big
one.
is the only
Anyone
team.
that moved up in the rankings that was like not supposed to, let's go check them out and see what's
Cloud9 is
happened over the
innocent.
last
We
6
know
months.
Cloud9 ain't cheating.
They should.
Yeah.
Like, they
Cloud9,
should.
you're telling me Cloud9 could be in the top 5 if all they knew is to cheat? Like, I'm okay with that. Just get me there. Just get me in the top 5. So yeah, that's what I'm that's the downside really to all of this is just the fact that people are not going to be able to shake this until we get back on LAN. But now the online era was already like had asterisks next to it. You might as well just throw it away.
The online era just became the steroid era, right? Like, it's going to be looked at
Yeah.
the same way in the sense of it. There's a big stain now on all of 2020 Counter-Strike, unfortunately. Counter-Strike needs LAN back more than anybody at this point, right? Like, it really needs to go back to LAN for it to be forgotten. Again, the effects from these bans are going to be felt back in the LAN era, right? Because right now, again, we know the coaches are suspended. Most likely, a lot of them by the time LAN comes back. We don't know what punishments will be handed out to players if and when that happens. That'll carry over into LAN time if we get back into LAN in 2021. Furia just got caught today with ECS Season 7. They had a game against Complexity, and it was a full video. Their coach cheated the whole game from the first round till the end of the game. He had a camera pointed in top mid of Mirage where he could get all the information where people were like posted up, and it was literally for the whole game. And again, that's just another one that came out today. And the coach's response, I wish I had it pulled up. It was so damn fun. Oh yeah, you know what? I just got to pull it up. I have it here.
I'm sure it's something along the lines of how dare you disrespect my family, my beliefs.
Complete opposite. So this is the translated version via Twitter. This is from the coach of Furia after he's been caught and revealed to be cheating. This was posted by Michu, the evidence, right? Like, hey guys,
Yeah.
hey, the Brazilian fans are going to hate me. Here's another one, though, that I found, and it was the whole game. So the coach responds, I just saw the video posted by Michu. First of all, congratulations on the work. Esports needs people like that. The situation is real and very peaceful to explain what happened. I'll post the full video with audio and explanations today. Really curious to see what that video is going to be.
You know what, though? I
Like,
can respect that because here's the thing. I'm not so much like, look, I think it's almost like, what movie was I watching? I forget what it was, but it was like a mobster movie. And like the cop and the mobsters were getting together and they were like, hey, we have no hard feelings against cops or robbers because that's your job. Your job as a cop is to stop me from robbing. My job as a robber is to try to beat you, right? No hard feelings. You're just doing your job. And I almost feel like this is the same attitude. Like, hey, I get it. If you're a coach, you want to get whatever advantage of your team as you can. And if all of a sudden you spawn with an eye in the sky of top, ramp on Mirage, top mid, hey, take advantage of it. That's fine. But just know if you get busted.
okay, so yeah, that's the gamble that you're having to take in that situation.
Right.
Like, that's the robber part of the scenario.
That's what I'm saying.
The
Right.
cop is Michu. In this case, he knows he's doing wrong.
He
is the
knows he's
problem.
doing wrong, but he's going to try to beat the system. Now, when you get busted, just know that was the price you were going to pay.
Yeah, he's going to get a heavy suspension. And again, like, that's another one for the Brazilian scene, right? So now if we're keeping track here, Furia, the only team you could really root for in Brazil because they're competitive, I'm not talking about like negative reasons surrounding MIBR, but the only competitive team currently in the Brazilian region, Furia has now been caught cheating. MIBR has been caught cheating. Who the hell are they going to be talking about for the next few months? Like, these teams are also being suspended from competing in certain events. I mean, again, it just sucks because I don't feel like this is just going to carry over.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like this could lead to more problems of people just leaving if you get long-term player suspensions out of it. Like people will leave, they'll move on, and that just hurts the scene because guess what? All the talent that you want to be grooming to be the next leaders in CS:GO, they're not there. They're not playing Counter-Strike right now, and so that kind of sucks. And so we'll see where it goes.
Look, not
But
everyone is going to take a lifetime ban like Steel did. Not everyone is going to be banned from majors for life and continue to play the game and promote the game and create content for your game for years after being banned and completely ignored by. Some people are going to get a 12-month ban and being like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm going to go to another scene where my reputation isn't completely destroyed yet.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that's any justification to not ban them. I'm just saying that's the way esports work, right? If you hop ship, people forget.
That's the situation we're in, right? Like not all of these guys are 15 when they got banned like they were, right? They had a little bit more time to put in, and esports weren't as big. There's other opportunities. So if people are getting heavy suspensions, maybe they don't get picked up going into those other esports, but I assure you they're going to try.
Yep.
Like, what else are they going to do?
So
Be unemployed for the next 12 to 24?
Some of the big punishments here for the team-wise, now obviously we said the coaches and everything, they have their own respective bans, but the teams will retroactively be disqualified from tournaments in question, which again, right now that's only like 1 or 2, but who knows where that trickles down from. Teams will have to forfeit their ESL Pro Tour points from the tournament in question, and teams will forfeit any prize money from the tournament in question. And again, that's just ESL and DreamHack sanctioned events. That's not including, I think, was it Dead and Hunden are completely banned from Summit? Is that correct? Or did Summit ban?
I know there was like additional bans that came down from BTS. I don't have them in front of me though.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just one of those things where, this is just now really starting, and as other places or as other tournament organizers start reviewing their own thing, it's just going to get worse, or for the better, depending on how you look at it. So, but there's that
positivity month. You don't have to look at that.
Yeah, we're not in positivity a month. This sucks. This definitely sucks. One last note of CS / Valorant news. We called it. Now, if you are a listener of the Center Ring, you were gifted. You were blessed with knowledge before it even was out there that Steel was going to leave CS and go play Valorant. Like, you saw that news break the other day and you were like, okay, this is old news.
Thought it already happened.
Like, Tim and Anuj talked about this like a day ago on their podcast. Like, what's the big deal here? Why are people freaking out? We 100% knew that. Look, Steel, like we just said, Steel has been a loyal servant despite having every single reason not to CS for years. They just got into the top 20 in world rankings. They just performed well at ESL Cologne. And then the next day you see him on Valorant? What other proof do you need? Like, the guy's jumping ship. He's moving games. And so now it's been officially announced that he's leaving. And, I say hats off. Like, I'm happy for him. I think this is long overdue. If I were Steel, I would have jumped to Valorant day 1 of beta, right? Day 1 of closed alpha or beta, whatever they let people do. I would have switched over then, because the guy is obviously talented, and the fact that he had a ceiling in CS because he and the team he was on could never actually get to the major, it just, you kind of felt like he was just kind of running in place.
Once Chaos figures out where to sell, because right now he's a Valorant streamer for Chaos, right? That's temporary. He'll be on a roster at some point. I start to already put different thoughts in my head of where I want to see him go, but I think there'll be a lot of Steel is a tier 1 CS player. Okay, the people that we're seeing do really well in Valorant right now lower tier 1 to tier 2 players. Steel is very good, right? Like he's at the level of what you would say like the nitros in terms of in-game leaders and abilities. Like he's up there with any of them. And so, I mean, I'm excited to see his career get a second chance, just like I was for Brax. Just like it was nice to see AZK, although a little different with AZK because we did see him in Overwatch and see him compete in another game, after Counter Strike. But yeah, like this was something that it felt like it was going to happen. That's why we threw it out there saying this is what we think is going to happen. And sure enough, it made enough sense for it to happen. And I'm glad. I'm happy for him. I'm like really, really happy for him. Excited to watch him. Another familiar face in Valorant, and as that game grows, like that's going to be important for our enjoyment level, right? To have more familiar faces and people that we know and enjoy watching. So
So
very cool
100 Thieves will now have Hiko, Nitro, and soon to be Steel.
It's a pretty good looking lineup to start off with.
not bad for playing with 4 PUBG guys. Not bad.
It just depends on like if they both want to IGL, like somebody like Nitro and Steel, could be the only conflict I could see there, both with in-game leader mentalities. But yeah, I think that would be you get your CS core together. That's what you do in this game. We know that works. Like that's what you do. And so I think any team that gets him will be pretty lucky, but he will go to a big name team.
Yeah.
Like a team will either make a move for him or a team that has a slot is looking at signing him already, I would assume.
Yep, so I'm definitely happy for Steel. I will say some people are like, this is a huge loss for the CS world. The CS world is losing a great one. Let's pump the brakes, okay? Steel has been a fun footnote in the CS world to no fault. Well, I guess there was fault to his own. He was the one who threw the games, let's be real. But he couldn't be anything big in the CS scene because he couldn't get to any meaningful tournaments. So I think it's good to see, the name, sure, for people who have been around that long, but for newcomers, they were probably just like, why do people keep talking about this Steel guy? So I think it's great to see him finally, he has a lot to prove too, right? Because for the longest time, people have kind of in their head think that, okay, he could still be that top tier talent. So I am excited to see him go to a new game where he actually can break that glass ceiling and take it to the next level.
Counter-Strike is losing somebody just outside of like how good he was in Counter-Strike. Like he's good, we wouldn't say he's a great, but they are losing a great content creator and a spokesperson for the game, good and bad, right? Like there's a bad side there, but more so like what he did for the growth of the NA scene was like really big. And now you lose people like Kiko, you lose people like Steel, like those are big content creators within your scene. And so that's where the hurt comes in for should be for Counter-Strike fans is you're just losing a good one, you know?
I did look it up here. So CS Summit ended up giving a ban to Dead.
For like 2 tournaments or something, right?
No, I think it was, let me see here. From playing coaching, I think it was the next 2 CSGO events hosted by Beyond the Summit. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
MIBR will retroactively be disqualified from Summit 6 Online and forfeit any prize money from Summit 6 Online. As a result, Triumph will be awarded the 7th and 8th place. And so there you go. Congratulations, Triumph. You are now 7th and 8th.
They're giving up 7th and 8th place money. So here's like the $1,000 that I have in my pocket from Taco right now.
Imagine being MIBR, finding out your team was cheating, and you still only got 7th and 8th place. Like imagine being an MIBR fan being like, holy shit. You mean we were cheating and we've been cheating this whole time and we still are this bad? Look, at least as a Cloud9 fan, I know we weren't cheating. We just suck. It's okay. I can live with that. So yeah, just I don't know. We'll get on. We'll move on with it, CS, but just know that I really think this is just the tip of the iceberg as far as this is concerned. So there's that. And I think that's really it. Anything else for this little CS controversy?
Yeah, chances are we're talking about both of these conversations here in a couple episodes from now, if not, in the next 1 or 2, right? Like both of these are going to be active conversations. I'm more excited for the Call of Duty rosters. I enjoy talking about that more because I think that's fun and that's good excitement and drama. The Counter-Strike stuff, man, it's just disappointing to see. I hope we don't have to talk about it too much more, but I feel like we will be talking about it again soon.
Oh, I mean,
I
like
feel
I
like it's going to
said,
be like the COVID situation, right? The first 6 or 7 episodes of COVID, it was like, oh gosh, this is canceled. This is canceled.
yeah.
I think that's what the scandal will
I
end
mean,
up
it's
being
going to
like.
100% be, like you said, because it's just more and more tournament organizers are just now reviewing the film. So it's not going to be a one and done thing, I feel like, anyways. All right, let's get into some e-news. You got some CSGO updated rankings for us, Anuj?
I did.
As you're pulling
Go to
that
the
up,
next one.
I will get
Go to
off
the next one.
to this one, where the ESL Pro League Season 12 did kick off today. And as I said before, I trust no one. No one is safe right now when it comes to the ESL Pro League. But so that did kick off.
With the new number 1, Tim, in Vitality. Heroic moved up 7 slots to number 2. That's like crazy to me.
Just
Like,
to have your
they
coach
won
banned.
Cologne, but they just moved up 7 spots. Evil Geniuses stayed after winning the NA side of Cologne, stayed in 3rd place. I thought really they should have moved up that 1 slot, possibly to number 2, even number 1 after winning Cologne. But they stayed neutral. Big drop down. I think they'll continue to drop down. No other really big moves except for Nip going up 4 spots or 5 spots to number 10.
So there you go. Wonder if this will affect the rankings. I doubt it. I don't think HLTV cares too much about that, but we'll see.
If they lose those points for that event that they're forfeiting, so
Okay.
I think that will affect the rankings to a certain extent. I think everyone's waiting on Valve's announcement though for how it affects the Road to Rio point system. So that'll be the bigger one because as of right now, by vacating the points that MIBR did, they're technically out of the Road to Rio now. If they lose that BTS tournament, they are out of the Road to Rio. So you will not see.
Given Valve's track records on how they have a zero, negative 100 tolerance to cheating of any type, I can't imagine this ends well for those guys.
No.
You might not have.
You won't see MIBR in the next major, regardless of when it is. MIBR will not be in the next major in my mind.
MIBR might just switch to a Valorant org when this is all said and done. They might just say, you know what? That
could be the prediction of the year right there, because that is looking more and more like a possibility after every tournament
just
they
have
play
to
in.
switch over. Playoffs for Overwatch League do start tomorrow. In League of Legends news, to no one's shock, I tried telling people this on Discord that it wasn't going to happen the way they all think, but Vietnam teams, the Vietnamese Championship Series teams for League, will not be joining Worlds this year, as Vietnam is not allowing players, or I guess just people in general, to travel to China. And I tried telling people in Discord that they were like, oh man, but Worlds is going to be the first land. Didn't you hear, Tim? They're going to do a bubble in China. That's great. But until you figure out a way to teleport people, they still have to travel across the world to get there. And it's just, some countries might do it, some might not. It's not, I don't think Vietnam is going to be the first region that does this for Worlds.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see now what they do with those allocated spots that are available. If they give one to NA and EU to add an extra team, or if they're leaving it at the 22, do they announce it?
Cloud9.
I don't know if they announced what they're doing. Maybe they did. We'll look that up and update you all next episode on that. But that leaves 2 open slots. So either keep it at 22 or get 2 other teams to get it back to 24.
22 is not a bad number. You kept it even. They didn't make it odd, so I guess that's all that counts. Yeah. Valorant ended up doing some updates and some patches just today or yesterday, whenever the two. Overall, pretty good. You might be seeing some less Sage out there, as her heal has been dropped from 100 to 60, and her self heal also was dropped a little bit and things like that, which is affecting her pick rate. But you know what? I don't mind. People are trying to make it seem like she's dead. I don't think she's dead. I just don't think she's an auto pick before, which is great. I don't think they shouldn't have had like a Mercy-esque character in the sense of like you have to have her for her healing ability. It's still really nice to have one.
It's still going to be good. The wall is still going to be useful, although it's easier to break early on when it's placed. So now the longer it's there, the more HP it has. She also took the slow orb nurse, so I think she's been hit in multiple areas in one patch, which makes it a little difficult, but I think we'll still see her, just maybe not an insta-pick. Killjoy being nerfed was another big one, right? The mollies that everybody talks about, the damage on those has been reduced. They're easier to spot on the ground. I think that was a really good change that needed to happen. I think we saw like some shotgun nurse and things of that sort.
Breach's flash. He has one more flash, which I've heard is OP, so they'll probably get that back down to 2. But the bigger thing is now that it's only like a half-second pop, which is huge, because anyone who's played Breach knows that when you hit your flash, I think it's like an hour, maybe like an hour and a half before that flash used to pop. It felt like it took days. And like to where it was like you didn't even use it to flash, you just used it to deter. So
I think we see Breach as an insta pick until if they don't change anything on him. I think he stays.
I've heard the 3 flashes is pretty OP, which when you're busting into a site sounds like it. But either way, we'll see. Riot has proven that they have patched Valorant more in its 3 months of life than Valve has patched Counter-Strike in like the last 5 years. So
yeah,
they're doing okay.
They're taking feedback, which is nice,
yeah.
Right? Like a lot of times we get Counter-Strike updates and we're like, wait, why?
Why did you do this? Because my 8-year-old nephew said it would be really fun to add a revolver. And in other news, RIP to PUBG Mobile, as you are now banned in India due to India's Chinese app ruling. They did it to TikTok and things like that. So PUBG is now banned in India, which we've said it 1,000. Anytime PUBG Mobile comes up on the show, we bring it up, the fact that we talked to the Indian Overwatch team and they were like, yeah, PUBG Mobile is the shit in India. Like, we don't even know what Fortnite is. It's all PUBG Mobile. So now
it's about to be Call of Duty Mobile.
Yeah, I mean, RIP to PUBG Mobile, because that's got to be like 90% of your player base from what it sounded like.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
that's going to be a large percentage of that player base.
Big hit. Diabolical launches official launch is tomorrow. I believe they said at like noon or something like that. So
maybe we give it another chance to try it out.
I downloaded it today. I'm going to give it another shot, even if it's just casually. I'm going to do it, if only for the respect of they're not doing a open beta. They were like, we're going right from a closed testing to launch. And they were like, not to get into particular reasons why in the industry, but the fact that they've pretty much winked and nodded the fact that an open beta is just, let's be real, a free trial. Like, open beta might as well just be your release. So I respect them for and they were like, we're just going to release the game and fix it as we go. Because what's the difference between that and open beta? Nothing, I tell you. Nothing. Open beta is just an excuse for the game to say why it sucks. And then the Pittsburgh Knights are doing something that I find very funny and cool. They are doing the Boomer Bowl for Valorant. It is Valorant, right? Or is it just a bunch of games? I think it's Valorant.
I think it was Valorant.
They are doing the Boomer Bowl, where you have to be 28 years or older for you to sign up and register as a team. Now, I really want to do this because we're friends with James and we're buddies with the Pittsburgh Knights and everything. So I think it would be fun to partake. If you play Valorant and you're 28 years of older and you think you might want to do this, let us know. And then we'll look at our calendars and speak with our bosses, aka our wives, and we will definitely get this worked out. But this is what, Anuj, and you'll know this. Not all boomers are created equal. Like, I need a parent bowl because, I mean, us at 28 had all the time in the world with no kids. Like, 28's not a boomer.
No, it should have been 30 plus with one child.
Yeah, like A 28-year-old and me at 30, but I'm 30 with one kid and one on the way is completely different than like a 28-year-old just chilling.
Look, the single boomers that are 28 plus, they have no excuse not to be amazing.
You might as well be a pro gamer.
Exactly, yeah. Because you have money to buy the stuff that you want, and you have all the time in the world to practice.
Like
so.
28 years old with no kids, and God forbid you're not even married. I'm like, are you Bill Gates rich? Like, what is happening here? You should be a pro.
I feel like I'd be a pro at my age if
I've always said this, Anuj, and I truly do believe it. You and I are one divorce and a child support check away from being a professional gamer. That's it. If we just took
trying to pursue our dreams.
If we just took the pact together, divorced our wives, and just decided to just be like every other weekend type of parents,
like give up full custody for sure.
We could make it work. Well, we could talk to Envy. You know, we're friends with owners. They could probably get us some type of tryout contract.
If they decide not to divorce us, maybe we just plan like a girls' trip for them with the kids.
Easy. Or girls' trip, send the kids to the grandparents for like 2 months and let us just boot camp. You let us boot camp for this Boomer Bowl tournament. It could be life-changing. You don't understand, babe. It's a real tournament. Please let us. So either way, that will be fun to watch. And I want to do it. So again, if you're a listener, you're 28 years old, and you actually play the game, because we will have to be somewhat carried a little
28
bit.
and older, and like at least be a gold or higher. Like gold or higher is acceptable. If you're borderline silver, that's fine. Still talk to us. If you're getting into bronze territory, we'll keep you as like if we really don't find anybody, you know.
Yeah. There's that. So, you know, we're not picky about the teammate. I just want you to know where heaven is at. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't be like our friend Ronnie, where you sign up to be in the DreamHack tournament with us for Counter-Strike, a game that you have played your whole damn life, and then in the middle of the DreamHack tournament, we go, oh, he's in hell on Nuke, and then you go in like the 15th round, where's hell? That's what I don't want.
I think we said ramp. I think it was ramp.
It was even
not
worse.
even hell.
It's like, yeah. Ronnie, it's the giant ramp
on Nuke. It's like, bro, even if you don't know where it's at, there's only one ramp on this map.
So just like the bar is so low. I just need
the bar is low.
It's a low bar.
28 plus, and you've played Valorant a handful of times.
Yes. And just know the commitment level is low too, because obviously we're weekend warriors when it comes to gaming. So
it's a real Boomer Bowl. It's a one-day event.
Yes. And is it really a one-day event?
I know. I'm saying if it's a real,
I was gonna say, if it's a real
it
Boomer
needs to be
Bowl,
a one-day
it's
event.
a one-day event with very liberal start times. Maybe adjustable start times, things that we can check off with our wives. Can we make that happen, James? Can we make it happen? So there's that. So, and we'll definitely join under the center ring for sure. So let us know if you're interested in that, because I know we definitely are. All right. Well, there you have it. Episode 268. It's done. It's in the books. Thank you so much for listening. If you're tuning in live on Twitch or other streaming service, thank you so much. Appreciate it. If you are listening on the podcast apps, thank you even more for tuning in, skipping around, or listening to the whole darn thing. Love you all the same. Be sure and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring and join our Discord. Be a part of that conversation. You can see when we're playing Valorant. So if you do want to ever just play with us, let us know. If you ever think you're too low of a rank, not possible.
Never too low of a rank.
Never too low of a rank. So I would rather play with someone who's bad but working as a team than someone who's good and no mic and just doing your own thing. So hit us up. There's always unranked as well. We will be back Sunday night with a special guest, 99% guaranteed booked, Greg Skitmus, formerly of Screw Attack and Game Attack. He is now doing his own gaming podcast, so we will have him on the show, talk some esports and gaming with him, so that will be fun. That will be Sunday night, so tune in live for that as well. And that's it. That's all I got. So hopefully in the meantime, no one gets banned in Counter-Strike. CDL chills out. And we'll see you next time. For Anuj, I'm Tim. Later.